Welcome, dear listener, to another journey through the quiet corridors of history, where the past unfolds in whispers and shadows. Tonight, we invite you to settle into the comfort of your present moment, to let your mind drift into the lush, humid jungles of the ancient Maya world. This is boring history for sleep, and our tale tonight is one of toil, sacrifice, mystery, and ritual, a tapestry woven from the lives of farmers, kings, and priests in the classic Maya civilization, some 1400 years ago. As you close your eyes, imagine the distant hum of insects, the rustle of broad leaves under a canopy of stars. Our story begins in the heart of a Maya village, where the rhythm of life was shaped by maize fields and the will of the gods. From there, we'll trace the path of a king whose ambition met a tragic end, ponder the enigma of a city reclaimed by the jungle, and step into the sacred duties of a priest beneath a towering pyramid. Each chapter of this 2-hour journey is crafted to guide you gently toward rest, to let the weight of the day slip away as the past unfolds. So, find a comfortable place, let your breathing slow, and allow yourself to sink into the world of the Maya. Our first chapter begins with the life of a farmer, a life of labor and faith, where every day was a quiet struggle against the jungle and the divine. Close your eyes, dear listener, and let your mind drift to a distant time, to a small village nestled within the lowland jungles of what is now Guatemala. In the year 600 of the Common Era, you are a maize farmer in the heart of the classic Maya civilization, your life woven into the rhythms of the land, the seasons, and the gods who govern both. The air around you is thick with the scent of damp earth, heavy with the promise of heat, and alive with the soft hum of cicadas, their chorus mingling with the rustle of broad leaves stirred by a pre-dawn breeze. Your home is a simple structure, its walls crafted from wooden poles bound with vines, its roof thatched with palm fronds that sway gently in the night's lingering breath. The earthen floor is cool beneath your bare feet, grounding you in this moment, in this life of quiet endurance and unceasing labor. You awaken just before the first light of dawn, your body carrying the faint ache of yesterday's work, a stiffness in your shoulders, a dull soreness in your hands from hours spent gripping tools. Your sleeping mat, woven from palm fibers, is thin but familiar, its texture a quiet comfort as you rise. The air is cool for now, a fleeting respite before the day's heat presses against you like a heavy cloak. You move slowly, your movements deliberate, as you step outside into the village. The world is stirring, a soft symphony of sounds, mothers murmuring to their children, the clatter of clay pots being set over fires, the distant bark of a dog chasing shadows. Your village is small, perhaps 20 homes clustered together in a clearing carved from the jungle's relentless embrace. The thatched roofs blend into the green canopy that surrounds you, a dense wall of emerald leaves and tangled vines that both shelters and challenges your existence. Your first task, as it is every day, is to tend the milpa, the slash-and-burn field where maize grows in neat rows. It stalks the lifeblood of your people. You reach for your digging stick, a simple tool of hardwood, its tip blackened and hardened by fire, its weight familiar in your calloused hands. Over your shoulder, you sling a woven bag, its coarse fibers brushing against the cotton of your tunic, dyed a faded red with achiote seeds traded from a neighboring village. The path to the milpa winds through the village, past homes much like your own, their walls adorned with simple patterns of white lime wash. Neighbors offer quiet nods as you pass, their faces etched with the same resolve you carry, a shared understanding of the day's demands, the unspoken bond of those who work the land together. The ground beneath your feet is soft, churned by recent rains, and the air carries the faint, acrid scent of charred wood from newly cleared plots, a testament to the labor that keeps the jungle at bay. The milpa itself is a patchwork of green, its maize stalks standing tall, their broad leaves glistening with dew in the early light. You pause to inspect a stalk, its leaves rough against your fingers, scarred and calloused from years of wielding stone tools. The work is methodical, repetitive, almost meditative. The soft thud of the digging stick as it breaks the earth, the rustle of leaves as you move, the distant trill of a bird hidden in the canopy. You pull weeds, their roots clinging stubbornly to the soil, and check for signs of pests or blight, tiny beetles that burrow into leaves, or the telltale yellowing of disease. The sun is rising now, its warmth turning to heat, pressing against your skin, and sweat begins to bead on your brow, mingling with the dust that coats your arms and face. You pause to drink from a gourd, its water drawn from the village cenote, a deep limestone sinkhole that serves as your community's lifeline. The water is cool, with a faint mineral tang, but you sip it sparingly, knowing its preciousness. Drought is a constant fear, a shadow that lingers in every farmer's thoughts. The rains, governed by Chaac, the god of storms, are unpredictable, and a poor season could mean hunger for your family. You kneel briefly to offer a prayer, pressing a pinch of maize meal into the earth, your lips moving in a soft murmur. Chaac, bringer of rain, look kindly on these fields. The act is small but vital, a thread in the tapestry of rituals that define your life, a sacred pact with the divine. The Maya world is alive with unseen forces, gods, spirits, and ancestors who watch from the heavens and the underworld. Farming is not just labor, it is a dialogue with these forces. You carry a small pouch of copal resin tied to your waist. It's smoky, resinous scent, a constant reminder of the god's presence. Before clearing a new milpa, you join your neighbors in a ceremony, burning copal in a clay censer, its smoke curling upward in thin, fragrant wisps. You chant softly, your voice blending with the others, asking the spirits of the land for permission to disturb their domain. The jungle is not merely earth and trees, it is a realm of divine beings, and to work it without respect is to court misfortune. The smoke stings your eyes, but you welcome it, a sign that your offering has been received. Your diet is simple, shaped by the land's bounty and its limits. At midday, you return to the village, your tunic damp with sweat, to eat with your family. Your wife has prepared tortillas, their dough patted by hand and cooked on a clay comal over a fire of dried maize stalks. The tortillas are warm, their edges slightly crisp, and they are served with a paste of ground beans, flavored with a hint of chili and wild herbs gathered from the jungle's edge. The meal is plain but sustaining, and you eat seated on a low wooden bench, the fire's warmth a faint comfort against the day's heat. Your children join you, their faces smudged with dirt from play, their voices soft as they recount their morning chasing a turkey through the village or finding a shiny beetle in the undergrowth. On rare occasions, there is cacao, a bitter drink frothed with a wooden whisk and sipped from a painted gourd, its richness a luxury reserved for days of celebration or ritual. These moments with your family are a quiet anchor, tethering you to the community that shares your burdens. The village is small, but it is a world unto itself, bound by kinship and shared labor. Neighbors help one another repairing a roof after a storm, sharing a portion of maize during lean times, or standing guard together at night to protect the fields. The elders, their voices soft and deliberate, tell stories of the Popol Vuh, the sacred book that recounts the creation of the world and the trials of the hero twins Hunahpu and Zbalink, who outwitted the lords of the underworld. Your children listen, their eyes wide in the firelight, as the tales weave a sense of continuity, connecting you to the ancestors who worked these same lands centuries before. The demands of the nobles, however, cast a long shadow over your life. The great Maya city nearby, perhaps Tikal or Kalakmo, its pyramids rising like stone mountains above the jungle, depends on villages like yours for its sustenance. Messengers arrive regularly, their Quetzal feather headdresses gleaming in the sun, their voices sharp with authority. They carry staffs adorned with jade and obsidian, symbols of their connection to the city's rulers. The tribute they demand is heavy sacks of maize, woven textiles, or days of labor in the city, hauling limestone for temples, or crafting pottery for the elite. These obligations pull you from your fields, leaving less time to tend your crops, and the weight of them presses against you like the heat of the sun. Resentment stirs, but it is tempered by fear of the nobles' power and of the gods they claim to serve. To defy them is to risk punishment, a loss too great to contemplate. The spiritual pressure is a constant undercurrent, shaping every aspect of your life. The Maya calendar, with its intricate cycles of days, months, and years, governs your actions. Priests, their faces painted with black and red stripes, visit the village to announce rituals, their voices resonant with sacred authority. They carry codices, bark paper books filled with glyphs that map the movements of the stars and the will of the gods. You gather with your neighbors at the village shrine, a low stone platform carved with images of serpents and jaguars, to offer prayers and blood. Bloodletting is a common act, a way to honor the gods with your own vitality. You take a stingray spine, its tip sharp and cold, and pierce your tongue, wincing at the brief, sharp pain. A few drops of blood fall onto bark paper, which you fold and place in the censer to be burned, its smoke rising to the heavens. The act is both duty and devotion, a reminder that your life is bound to the divine order. The gods are not easily satisfied, and omens can signal their displeasure. A comet streaking across the night sky, a maize cob with uneven kernels, the eerie cry of an owl at midday. When the rains fail or the crops wither, the priests call for greater sacrifices. Whispers reach the village of captives taken in war, led to the city's pyramids to have their lives offered to the sun, their hearts lifted to appease the gods. These rituals are distant, performed on the great stone altars of the city, but their shadow falls over you, a reminder of the gods' hunger. You focus on smaller acts of devotion, burying a jade bead in the milpa, fasting before a planting ceremony, or carving a small wooden offering to place at the shrine. Each act is a plea for Chaac's mercy, a hope that the rains will come and the harvest will sustain your family. The jungle itself is a formidable challenge, a living entity that both sustains and resists you. Clearing a new milpa is a grueling task, requiring weeks of labor. You wield an obsidian blade, its edge razor-sharp but brittle, to slash through vines and undergrowth. The work is back-breaking, your arms aching as you hack at the dense growth, the air thick with the scent of crushed leaves and sap. Once cleared, the debris is burned, the fire's heat a stark contrast to the jungle's damp coolness. You watch the flames carefully, knowing a stray spark could ignite neighboring fields. The ash enriches the soil, creating a fertile bed for maize, but its bounty fades after a few seasons, forcing you to abandon the plot and begin anew. The jungle is relentless, its roots and vines creeping back almost as soon as you turn away, a constant reminder of its power. As the afternoon sun climbs higher, dear listener, imagine yourself returning to the milpa, the maize field that anchors your life as a farmer in a Maya village deep in the jungles of what is now Guatemala in the year 600 of the Common Era. The heat is heavy now, pressing against your skin like a warm, damp cloth, and the air hums with the relentless chorus of insects hidden in the canopy. Your tunic, already damp with sweat, clings to your back as you resume your work among the maize stalks, their broad leaves casting dappled shadows across the earth. The rhythm of your labor is familiar, the soft thud of your digging stick, the rustle of leaves, the faint crunch of soil beneath your feet. This is the heartbeat of your existence, a cycle of toil and devotion that binds you to the land and the gods. The milpa is not just a field, it is a sacred space, a testament to your pact with the divine. Each stalk of maize, a gift from the gods, a reminder of the Popol Vuh's tale of creation, where humanity was shaped from maize dough by the divine hands of the gods. You move with care, your scarred hands brushing against the rough leaves as you check for signs of trouble, ants marching in neat rows to strip a plant, or the faint webbing of spiders that signals a pest. You scatter ash from a previous burn to deter insects, its powdery texture clinging to your fingers. The work is repetitive, almost soothing, and your mind drifts to the stories told by the elders of the hero twins who battled the lords of Xibalba, their courage a quiet inspiration as you face your own daily struggles. The jungle surrounding the milpa, a constant presence, its dense green wall both a provider and a threat. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, your eyes scanning the undergrowth for signs of movement. Jaguars, their coats dappled with shadow, sometimes prowl the edges of the village, drawn by the scent of drying maize. You and your neighbors take turns standing guard at night, clutching spears tipped with obsidian, their edges glinting in the torchlight. The fire casts long shadows across the milpa, and you listen for the soft pad of paws or the rustle of leaves that might betray a predator. Snakes, too, are danger coral snakes with their vivid bands of red and black, fertile ants with their deadly bite lurking in the tangled vines. You teach your children to tread lightly, to listen for the subtle signs of danger, their small faces solemn as they learn the jungle's lessons. Yet the jungle also sustains you, offering gifts that supplement your diet of maize and beans. You hunt deer and peccary with a blowgun, its bamboo tube smooth from years of use, its darts tipped with curare traded from a distant village. You move silently through the forest, your breath steady as you track your prey, the dappled light filtering through the canopy. Your wife and daughters gather wild fruits mame with its sweet, orange flesh, sapodilla with its sugary pulp, avocado with its creamy richness adding rare sweetness to your meals. The ceiba tree, its massive trunk soaring toward the sky, is sacred, its branches believed to connect the earth to the heavens. You pause to honor it when passing, placing a small stone at its base, a gesture of respect for the gods who dwell within. The jungle is a paradox, a realm of danger and divinity, and you navigate it with a quiet reverence. The demands of the nobles weigh heavily on your mind as you work. The great Maya city nearby, perhaps Tikal or Kalakmo, its pyramids piercing the jungle like stone sentinels, depends on villages like yours for its sustenance. Messengers arrive regularly, their quetzal feather headdresses gleaming in the sun, their voices sharp with authority as they demand tribute. They carry staffs adorned with jade and obsidian, symbols of their connection to the city's rulers. The tribute is heavy sacks of maize, woven textiles dyed with indigo and cochineal, or days of labor in the city, hauling limestone for temples or crafting pottery for the elite. These obligations pull you from your fields, leaving less time to tend your crops, and the weight of them presses against you like the heat of the sun. You comply, knowing that defiance could bring punishment, seizure of your harvest, or worse, the wrath of the gods the nobles claim to serve. The spiritual pressure is a constant undercurrent, shaping every aspect of your life. The Maya calendar, with its intricate cycles of days, months, and years, governs your actions. Priests, their faces painted with black and red stripes, visit the village to announce rituals, their voices resonant with sacred authority. They carry codices, bark paper books filled with glyphs that map the movements of the stars and the will of the gods. You gather with your neighbors at the village shrine, a low stone platform carved with images of serpents and jaguars, to offer prayers and blood. Bloodletting is a common act, a way to honor the gods with your own vitality. You take a stingray spine, its tip sharp and cold, and pierce your tongue, wincing at the brief, sharp pain. A few drops of blood fall onto bark paper, which you fold and place in the censer to be burned, its smoke rising to the heavens in thin, fragrant curls. The act is both duty and devotion, a reminder that your life is bound to the divine order. The gods are not easily satisfied, and omens can signal their displeasure. A comet streaking across the night sky, a maize cob with uneven kernels, the eerie cry of an owl at midday. When the rains fail or the crops wither, the priests call for greater sacrifices. Whispers reach the village of captives taken in war, led to the city's pyramids to have their lives offered to the sun, their hearts lifted to appease the gods. These rituals are distant, performed on the great stone altars of the city, but their shadow falls over you, a reminder of the gods' hunger. You focus on smaller acts of devotion, burying a jade bead in the milpa, fasting before a planting ceremony, or carving a small wooden offering to place at the shrine. Each act is a plea for Chaac's mercy, a hope that the rains will come and the harvest will sustain your family. Clearing a new milpa is a grueling task, one that occupies your thoughts as you work. The process begins with slashing vines and undergrowth with an obsidian blade, its edge razor-sharp but brittle, requiring careful handling to avoid shattering. The work is back-breaking, your arms aching as you hack at the dense growth, the air thick with the scent of crushed leaves and sap. Once cleared, the debris is burned, the fire's heat a stark contrast to the jungle's damp coolness. You watch the flames carefully, knowing a stray spark could ignite neighboring fields. The ash enriches the soil, creating a fertile bed for maize, but its bounty fades after a few seasons, forcing you to abandon the plot and begin anew. The jungle is relentless, its roots and vines creeping back almost as soon as you turn away, a constant reminder of its power. Evenings bring a brief respite, a moment to breathe amidst the day's toil. As the sun sinks below the canopy, painting the sky in hues of amber, violet, and soft gold, you gather with your family around a fire. The air cools slightly, and the village comes alive with the soft murmur of voices, the laughter of children, the clink of clay pots being set for the evening meal. Your wife prepares more tortillas, their aroma mingling with the smoky scent of the fire. You eat together, seated on woven mats, the warmth of the fire a quiet comfort. The elders, their faces lined with the wisdom of years, tell stories of the Popolva, recounting the creation of the world and the trials of the hero twins, Hanapu and Zbalunk, who outwitted the lords of the underworld. Your children listen, their eyes wide in the firelight, their imaginations caught by tales of gods and heroes. These moments are fleeting, but they are the heart of your community, a reminder of the bonds that sustain you through the endless cycle of labor. The village is a tapestry of shared lives, mothers weaving textiles on backstrap looms, fathers repairing tools with flint and obsidian, children learning the rhythms of the milpa. You teach your son to sharpen an obsidian blade, guiding his small hands as he presses the stone against a wet stone. Your daughter learns to grind maize, her movements awkward but determined, mimicking her mother's skill. These acts, small and ordinary, are the threads that bind you to one another, to the land, and to the ancestors who worked these fields centuries before. Yet even in rest, worrying lingers like a shadow. The milpa demands constant care, its stalks vulnerable to pests, drought, or storms. The gods require constant devotion, their favor uncertain. You lie on your mat at night, the thatch above you, whispering in the breeze, and your thoughts turn to the rains, the harvest, the noble's next demand. Sleep comes slowly, a fragile refuge in a life defined by toil and faith. The rhythm of your days is unchanging, planting, weeding, harvesting, praying, and yet it is this rhythm that anchors you, that ties you to the land and the gods. You are one of countless farmers whose labor sustains the Maya world, whose maize fills the granaries of cities like Tikal and Kalakmal. Your name will not be carved on stone stele, your deeds not recorded in the codices of priests, but your life is the foundation of a civilization. The pyramids that pierce the jungle, the temples that echo with chants, the ball courts where nobles play all rest on the quiet strength of your fields. Your toil is the heartbeat of the Maya, a steady pulse that echoes through the centuries. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the weight of the digging stick in your hands, the warmth of the tortillas on your tongue, the distant chant of a priest under a starlit sky. The farmer's life was one of quiet endurance, a testament to the human spirit's resolve in the face of hardship. Let this rhythm carry you now, as we prepare to leave the fields and step into the world of a king whose ambition shaped a city, only to meet a tragic end. As the rhythm of the maize farmer's life fades into the quiet of your mind, dear listener, let us step from the humble village and its milpa into the grandeur of a Maya city, where stone pyramids pierce the jungle canopy and the weight of divine kingship rests on the shoulders of one man. We journey now to Copan, a city of splendor and ambition in what is now Honduras, in the year 695 of the Common Era. Here, a ruler named 18 Rabbit, or Waxiclajun Ubakewil in the tongue of his people, rose to power, his life a tapestry of triumphs and tragedies, woven with the threads of political intrigue, drought, and a fateful end. His story is one of ambition and sacrifice, a narrative that unfolds slowly, like the curling smoke of a copal censer, guiding you gently toward rest. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of Copan's great plaza, the air thick with the scent of burning resin and the faint, earthy aroma of freshly carved limestone. The city is alive around you, its stone structures gleaming under the morning sun, their surfaces adorned with intricate carvings of gods and ancestors. The Great Pyramid of the Acropolis looms to one side, its steps worn smooth by the feet of priests and nobles. The ball court, its stone walls echoing with the cheers of past games, lies nearby, a place where the sacred and the political intertwine. You are not a farmer now, but a silent observer in the court of 18 Rabbit, a king whose name would be carved in stone, only to be undone by the tides of fate. 18 Rabbit ascended to the throne in 695 CE, the 13th ruler in Copan's dynastic line, a young man bearing the weight of a divine mandate. His title, Kewil, linked him to the god of lightning and abundance, a symbol of his role as a conduit between the heavens and the earth. As you imagine yourself in his presence, picture a man adorned in quetzal feathers, their iridescent green catching the light as he moves. His tunic is woven with intricate patterns, dyed with cochineal and indigo, and his wrists are heavy with jade bracelets that clink softly with each gesture. His face, painted with black and red for ritual, carries the calm authority of one chosen by the gods. Yet beneath it lies the burden of a city teetering on the edge of prosperity and peril. The early years of 18 Rabbit's reign were marked by ambition, a desire to elevate Copan to new heights. The city was already a jewel of the Maya world, its temples and palaces a testament to centuries of craftsmanship. But 18 Rabbit dreamed of more of a legacy that would outshine his predecessors. Etched in the stone stele that lined the plaza, you can almost see him standing atop the Acropolis, his gaze sweeping over the city, envisioning new monuments to honor the gods and his lineage. His first act was to commission a series of stele, tall stone pillars carved with his likeness and the glyphs of his deeds. These stele, erected in the great plaza, were not mere markers but sacred objects, their carvings a dialogue with the divine, proclaiming his power to both his people and the heavens. The creation of these stele was a monumental task, one that drew on the labor of countless farmers and artisans from villages like the one we left behind. Imagine the sound of chisels striking stone, a rhythmic tap that echoes through the plaza, mingling with the chants of priests burning copal. The artisans, their hands calloused like those of the farmers, worked with obsidian tools, carving 18 Rabbit's image, his headdress towering, his scepter held aloft into the limestone. The glyphs told of his divine lineage, his victories in war, and his offerings to the gods. Each stela was a testament to his ambition, but also a reminder of the resources it demanded: maize to feed the workers, timber to scaffold the stones, and the goodwill of a people strained by tribute. Yet Copan flourished under 18 Rabbit's early rule. The city's markets bustled with traders from distant lands, their voices a soft murmur as they bartered jade, cacao, and obsidian. The air was rich with the scents of roasted maize, smoked fish, and the sweet tang of fruit brought from the lowlands. You can almost hear the laughter of children playing near the ball court, their games a small echo of the sacred contests that nobles played to honor the gods. The ball court itself was a marvel, its sloping walls carved with macaw heads, Symbols of the sun's journey. 18 Rabbit himself may have played there, his body moving with grace as he struck the heavy rubber ball, each motion a ritual to maintain the cosmic order. But beneath this prosperity lay challenges that would test 18 Rabbit's reign. The Maya world was not a unified empire, but a network of city-states, each vying for dominance. Copen's neighbor, Quirigua, a smaller city to the north, was both an ally and a rival, its rulers bound to Copen by trade and marriage, but eager for independence. Imagine the tension in the royal court as messengers arrived from Quirigua, their faces impassive, but their words carrying veiled threats. 18 Rabbit, seated on a jaguar skin throne, listened carefully, his advisors whispering strategies to maintain Copen's dominance. The air in the palace was heavy with the scent of incense, but also with the weight of political intrigue, as nobles vied for favor and power. Drought was another shadow that loomed over 18 Rabbit's reign. The rains, governed by Chaac, were as vital to the city as they were to the farmer's milpa. But in the years following 18 Rabbit's ascension, the rains grew erratic, the cenotes drying and the maize fields wilting under the unrelenting sun. You can imagine the king standing before his people, his voice steady as he led rituals to appease Chaac, his hands raised to the sky as priests burned offerings of copal and maize. The smoke rose in thick curls, but the rains did not come, and the murmurs of discontent grew louder in the villages. The farmers, whose labor we followed, felt the strain most keenly, their harvest dwindling as they sent more maize to the city to feed its growing population. 18 Rabbit responded with grand gestures, commissioning new temples and altars to honor the gods. Picture the construction of Temple 22, its steps rising toward the heavens, its carvings depicting the gods of rain and fertility. The work was arduous, with laborers hauling limestone from distant quarries, their backs bent under the weight of the stones. The air was thick with dust, the sound of hammers and chisels a constant drone. 18 Rabbit himself oversaw the rituals to consecrate the temple, piercing his own flesh with a stingray spine, letting his blood fall to bark paper to be burned as an offering. The act was a plea for divine favor, a hope that the gods would restore the rains and the city's prosperity. Yet the drought persisted, and with it came political strain. The nobles, their loyalty tested by hunger, began to question 18 Rabbit's divine mandate. You can almost see him in the palace, his face lit by the flicker of torches, as he met with his advisors late into the night. The air was heavy with the scent of wax and resin, the walls adorned with murals of gods and ancestors. His brother, a potential rival, lingered at the edges of these meetings, his presence a reminder of the fragility of power. 18 Rabbit's ambition had built Copen's glory, but it also sowed the seeds of his vulnerability, as rivals within and without watched for signs of weakness. The relationship with Quirigua grew increasingly tense. The smaller city, once a vassal of Copen, began to assert its independence under its own ruler, Chaac. Imagine the messengers traveling between the cities, their sandaled feet treading paths through the jungle, carrying demands and counter-demands. 18 Rabbit sought to strengthen his hold through diplomacy, sending gifts of jade and feathers, but also through displays of power, leading raids to remind Quirigua of Copen's strength. These raids were not battles of annihilation, but ritual conflicts, where captives were taken to be offered to the gods. The captives' fate was a solemn one, their lives given to appease the divine, their hearts lifted in rituals that echoed across the city's plazas. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the weight of 18 Rabbit's crown, the Quetzal feathers brushing against his shoulders, the murmur of priests chanting in the distance. His reign was a delicate balance of ambition and obligation, a struggle to maintain the favor of both his people and the gods. Let this story carry you now, as we pause in the shadow of Copen's pyramids, preparing to continue the tale of 18 Rabbit's fateful encounter with his rival and the sacrifice that would mark his end. As the weight of 18 rabbits' ambitions lingers in your mind, dear listener, let us return to the heart of Köpen, where the air is thick with the scent of copal and the echoes of a city straining under the burdens of drought and rivalry. It is the year 738 of the Common Era, and 18 Rabbit, the 13th ruler of Köpen, stands at the pinnacle of his reign, yet on the precipice of a tragic fall. His story, woven with threads of triumph and betrayal, unfolds slowly, like the gentle unfurling of a maize leaf under the morning dew. Picture yourself in the shadow of Köpen's great pyramids, the stone warm beneath your feet, as we trace the final chapters of a king whose legacy would be both celebrated and mourned, guiding you gently toward rest. The tension with Quirigua, Köpen's smaller neighbor to the north, had grown sharper in the later years of 18 Rabbit's reign. Imagine the royal court, its walls adorned with murals of jaguars and feathered serpents, the air heavy with the scent of burning resin and the murmur of advisors. 18 Rabbit, seated on a throne draped with jaguar pelts, listened as messengers brought news of Quirigua's growing defiance. The smaller city, under its ruler Chaac sky, was no longer content to remain a vassal. You can almost hear the soft rustle of Quetzal feathers in 18 Rabbit's headdress as he leaned forward, his face a mask of calm resolve, though his eyes betrayed the weight of the challenge. The glyphs carved on Köpen's stele proclaimed his divine authority, but that authority was now questioned, a crack in the foundation of his rule. To counter Quirigua's ambitions, 18 Rabbit turned to both diplomacy and force. Picture the processions leaving Köpen, warriors adorned with cotton armor and obsidian-tipped spears, their faces painted with ochre and black. They marched through the jungle, the air thick with humidity and the buzz of insects, carrying gifts of jade and cacao to appease Chaac sky, but also ready to assert Köpen's dominance through ritual warfare. These conflicts were not wars of conquest, but sacred contests, where the capture of enemies was more valued than their destruction. The captives, bound with ropes of agave fiber, were destined for the altars, their lives offered to the gods in rituals that maintained the cosmic order. You can imagine the solemn drumbeats echoing across the plaza, the chants of priests rising as the captives were led to the city, their fate sealed by the will of the gods. But the drought that plagued Köpen cast a long shadow over these efforts. The cenotes, once brimming with water, grew shallow, their surfaces reflecting a merciless sun. The maize fields, like those tended by the farmer we followed, withered under the relentless heat, their stalks browning at the edges. The people of Köpen, from farmers to nobles, looked to 18 Rabbit for salvation, their faith in his divine connection, tested by the absence of rain. You can picture him standing before the great altar, his hands raised to the sky, his voice steady as he led rituals to appease Chaac. The priests, their bodies painted with sacred symbols, burned copal and maize, the smoke rising in thick curls, but the rains remained elusive. The air was heavy with the scent of ash and desperation, and the murmurs of discontent grew louder, like the distant rumble of thunder that never brought relief. 18 Rabbit's response was to double his efforts to prove his divine favor. He commissioned more monuments, including the magnificent altar queue, a square stone carved with the images of Köpen's rulers, linking his reign to the ancestors who had guided the city's rise. Imagine the artisans laboring under the sun, their chisels striking limestone with a rhythmic tap, their hands dusted with white powder. The altar was a testament to 18 Rabbit's ambition, but also a burden on a city stretched thin by drought and tribute demands. The farmers, whose maize sustained the city, were called upon to provide more, their own stores dwindling as they sent sacks of grain to feed the workers. The nobles, too, felt the strain, their loyalty wavering as they faced their own hunger. Within Köpen, political rivalry simmered, threatening to unravel 18 Rabbit's rule. His brother, a figure of quiet ambition, lingered in the shadows of the court, his presence a constant reminder of the fragility of power. You can imagine the late-night councils in the palace, the air thick with the scent of wax from flickering torches, as 18 Rabbit and his advisors debated strategies to maintain control. The walls, painted with scenes of gods and ancestors, seemed to watch in silence, their eyes carved in stone bearing witness to the king's struggles. The nobles, once united under 18 Rabbit's vision, began to fracture, some whispering of alliances with Quirigua, others questioning the king's ability to appease the gods. The turning point came in 738 CE, when Quirigua, emboldened by its own ambitions, struck against Köpen. Chaac, the ruler of Quirigua, saw an opportunity in Köpen's weakened state. Imagine the jungle paths, their earth packed hard by the feet of warriors, as Quirigua's forces moved against Köpen. The conflict was swift, a ritual battle in the Maya tradition, but its outcome was catastrophic for 18 Rabbit. You can picture the clash in a forest clearing, the air filled with the shouts of warriors and the clatter of obsidian blades. 18 Rabbit himself, adorned in ceremonial armor, led his forces, his headdress a beacon of authority. But the gods, it seemed, had turned their favor elsewhere. In a devastating blow, 18 Rabbit was captured by Chaac warriors. The moment of his defeat was one of profound tragedy, a king brought low by a rival he had once dominated. Imagine him bound with ropes, his quetzal feathers drooping in the humid air, as he was led through the jungle to Quirigua. The journey was long, the path winding through dense undergrowth, the air thick with the scent of earth and decay. His captors, their faces painted with the symbols of victory, marched in silence, their spears glinting in the dappled light. For 18 Rabbit, the weight of his failure was heavier than the ropes that bound him. A king who had sought to elevate his city now faced the ultimate humiliation. In Quirigua, 18 Rabbit's fate was sealed by the rituals of sacrifice. The Maya believed that the blood of a king was a powerful offering, capable of appeasing the gods and restoring balance. Picture the scene in Quirigua's plaza, the air heavy with the scent of copal and the chants of priests. The altar, carved with images of serpents and gods, stood ready, its stone worn smooth by countless offerings. 18 Rabbit, stripped of his finery, faced his end with the dignity of a ruler, his eyes fixed on the heavens. The priests, their voices steady and solemn, performed the ritual, lifting his life to the gods in a sacred act meant to ensure the rains would return. The moment was not one of violence, but of solemnity, a quiet passing that marked the end of a reign. The news of 18 Rabbit's sacrifice sent ripples through Köpen. The city, already strained by drought, mourned the loss of its king. Yet the glyphs carved on Quirigua's steely celebrated Chaac victory. You can imagine the silence that fell over Köpen's plaza, the air still, heavy, with the scent of incense, as the people grappled with their loss. The stele that 18 Rabbit had commissioned stood as silent witnesses, their carvings now a bittersweet reminder of a king who had dreamed of greatness. His death marked a turning point for Köpen, a city that would struggle to regain its former glory, its pyramids slowly reclaimed by the jungle's embrace. Yet 18 Rabbit's legacy endured in the stones he left behind. The stele and altars of Köpen, their glyphs still legible centuries later, tell of a ruler who sought to honor the gods and elevate his city. His ambition, though undone by drought and rivalry, shaped Köpen's golden age, a testament to the power of a king's vision. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the flicker of torchlight on the carved face of a stela, the quetzal feathers of a fallen king, the distant chant of a priest under a starlit sky. 18 Rabbit's story was one of triumph and tragedy, a life offered to the gods in a final act of devotion. Let this narrative carry you now, as we prepare to leave the grandeur of Köpen's pyramids and step into the mystery of a city to the jungle, where unanswered questions whisper through the ruins. As the tragic tale of 18 Rabbit fades into the quiet corners of your mind, dear listener, let us leave the stone plazas of Köpen and journey deeper into the heart of the Maya world, to the great city of Tikal nestled in the jungles of what is now Guatemala. It is the year 900 of the Common Era, and Tikal, once a beacon of power and splendor, stands on the brink of an enigma that has puzzled scholars for centuries: its sudden abandonment. The city's towering pyramids, once alive with the chants of priests and the bustle of traders, now lie silent, their stones entwined with the roots of ceiba trees. This is a story of mystery and wonder, of a civilization's quiet retreat into the jungle's embrace, told in a gentle cadence to guide you toward rest. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of Tikal's great plaza, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and the faint, sweet aroma of flowering vines. The jungle presses close, its canopy a mosaic of green that filters the sunlight into soft, dappled patterns across the stone. Before you rise the temple of the great jaguar, its steep steps climbing toward the heavens, its crest adorned with a roof cone carved with glyphs. To the north, the temple of the masks looms, its withered stones whispering of a time when kings walked these paths. The plaza itself is vast, paved with limestone that gleams faintly under the morning mist, but it is eerily quiet, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a howler monkey. You are not a farmer or a king now, but a silent wanderer in a city reclaimed by time, drawn to the unanswered questions that linger in its ruins. Tikal was once the heart of the Maya world, a city of perhaps 60,000 souls, its pyramids and palaces a testament to centuries of ambition and devotion. Its rulers, adorned in quetzal feathers and jade, governed a network of villages and trade routes, their power etched in the stele that lined the plazas. The city's markets overflowed with goods: cacao from the lowlands, obsidian from the highlands, shells from the distant coast. You can almost hear the soft murmur of traders bartering, the clink of jade beads changing hands, the laughter of children weaving through the crowds. The air was rich with the scents of roasted maize, smoked fish, and the smoky tang of copal burned in censers, a constant offering to the gods who watched over the city. But by 900 CE, Tikal's vibrancy had faded, its plazas deserted, its temples left to the jungle's embrace. The reasons for this collapse remain a mystery, a puzzle pieced together from fragments of stone and whispers of the past. Scholars have woven theories, each a thread in the tapestry of Tikal's final days: drought that withered the fields, wars that drained the city's strength, or social unrest that fractured its unity. As you stand in the great plaza, the silence of the ruins invites you to ponder these possibilities, each one a quiet echo of a civilization's struggle to endure. One of the most compelling theories is drought, a silent adversary that struck at the heart of Tikal's survival. The Maya depended on the rains, governed by Chaac, to nourish their maize fields, much like the farmer we followed in the village. But in the late 800s, the rains grew scarce, the cenotes drying under a relentless sun. Imagine the farmers trudging to their milpas, their gourds light with dwindling water, their faces etched with worrying as the maize stalks browned at the edges. The city's reservoirs, carved into the bedrock, held water for a time, but they too began to fail, their surfaces cracked and barren. You can picture the priests atop the temple of the great jaguar, their voices rising in desperate chants, burning copal and offering blood to plead for Chaac's mercy. The smoke curled upward, but the skies remained clear, the air heavy with the scent of dust and despair. Archaeological evidence supports this theory, painting a picture of a city stretched thin by environmental strain. Core samples from nearby lakes reveal layers of sediment that speak of prolonged dry spells, periods when the rains failed for years at a time. The bones of Tikal's people, unearthed from humble burials, show signs of malnutrition: teeth worn from grinding tough, meager meals, bones weakened by hunger. Yet the city's elite continued to build, commissioning new temples and stele even as the granaries emptied. You can imagine the nobles, their tunics adorned with jade, walking the plazas with measured steps, their faces masking the growing tension. The contrast between their splendor and the farmer's struggle may have sown seeds of resentment, a quiet undercurrent that threatened the city's unity. War is another thread in the mystery of Tikal's collapse. The Maya world was a mosaic of city-states, each vying for dominance, their alliances as fragile as the obsidian blades they wielded. Tikal, a giant among these cities, had long clashed with rivals like Kalakmal, their conflicts etched in the glyphs of stele. Imagine the warriors of Tikal, their cotton armor painted with sacred symbols, marching through the jungle, the air thick with humidity and the buzz of insects. These wars were ritual affairs, aimed at capturing nobles for sacrifice rather than conquest, but they drained the city's resources. Captives, bound with agave ropes, were led to the altars, their lives offered to the gods in rituals that echoed across the plazas. The air was heavy with the scent of blood and copal, the chants of priests a solemn backdrop to the city's struggles. By the late 800s, Tikal's victories waned, its stele recording fewer triumphs. The glyphs hint at defeats, of alliances broken and enemies emboldened. You can picture the royal court, its walls adorned with murals of past glories, as the king, perhaps Yaks Nunahian too. One of Tikal's final rulers listened to reports of raids on outlying villages. The air was thick with the scent of wax from flickering torches, the advisors' voices low with concern. The wars may have weakened Tikal's ability to feed its people, as farmers were pulled from their fields to serve as warriors, their milpas left untended. The city's trade routes, once bustling with goods, grew quiet, the paths through the jungle overgrown as merchants avoided the conflict. Social unrest is a third possibility, a silent fracture within Tikal's heart. The city's elite, their lives marked by luxury, depended on the labor of farmers and artisans, whose tribute sustained the pyramids and palaces. But as drought and war strained the city, the burden on the common people grew heavier. Imagine the farmers, their hands calloused from the digging stick, carrying sacks of maize to the city, their own stores dwindling. The nobles, seated in their palaces, dined on cacao and venison, their feasts a stark contrast to the farmers' meager meals of tortillas and beans. You can almost hear the murmurs of discontent in the villages, the whispers of a people pushed to the edge by hunger and obligation. Archaeological finds hint at this tension. The palaces of Tikal's elite, with their thick stone walls and painted murals, stand in contrast to the simple thatched homes of the farmers. Yet in the final years, some palaces show signs of neglect, cracked plaster, overgrown courtyards as if their occupants could no longer maintain them. Graffiti, scratched into the walls of lesser structures, suggests defiance, glyphs that mock the ruler's authority. You can imagine a young artisan, his chisel trembling, carving a hidden mark of rebellion in the shadows of a temple. The unrest may have driven people from the city, seeking refuge in smaller villages where the demands of nobles were lighter, the jungle's bounty more accessible. The ruins of Tikal, rediscovered in the 19th century, offer a haunting glimpse into its final days. Imagine the first explorers, their boots sinking into the jungle's soft earth, as they stumbled upon the temple of the great jaguar, its stones entwined with roots. The plazas, once alive with the footsteps of thousands, were carpeted with leaves, the silence broken only by the chatter of parrots. Steely, their glyphs weathered but legible, stood like silent sentinels, their stories of kings and gods half lost to time. You can picture the archaeologists, their hands brushing away centuries of dust, uncovering pottery shards, jade beads, and the bones of those who called Tikal home. Each find is a whisper of the past, a clue to the mystery that lingers in the jungle's embrace. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the mist curling around Tikal's pyramids, the faint rustle of leaves in the canopy, the distant call of a bird echoing through the ruins. The mystery of Tikal's collapse is a quiet enigma, a story of a city that shone brightly before fading into silence. Let this wonder carry you now, as we pause in the jungle's heart, preparing to explore further the secrets hidden in Tikal's stones. As the mist of Tikal's silent plazas lingers in your mind, dear listener, let us continue our journey through the ruins of this once great city deep in the jungles of what is now Guatemala around the year 900 of the Common Era. The towering pyramids, their stones entwined with the roots of ancient ceiba trees, stand as silent witnesses to a civilization that faded into the jungle's embrace. The mystery of Tikal's collapse is a tapestry woven from threads of drought, war, and social unrest, each strand a quiet enigma that invites contemplation. Picture yourself wandering the overgrown paths of the city, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and the faint hum of insects, as we unravel the secrets hidden in Tikal's stones, guiding you gently toward rest. The ruins of Tikal, rediscovered centuries later by explorers hacking through the jungle's dense undergrowth, offer a haunting glimpse into the city's final days. Imagine the moment when the first outsiders stepped into the great plaza, their boots sinking into the soft leaf-strewn earth, their eyes wide as they beheld the temple of the great jaguar at the steps climbing toward a sky obscured by the canopy. The silence was profound, broken only by the chatter of parrots and the rustle of leaves stirred by a warm breeze. The stelae, their glyphs weathered but still legible, stood like sentinels, their carvings telling of kings and gods whose names had been forgotten. You can almost feel the weight of time as you imagine the archaeologists, their hands brushing away centuries of dust, uncovering pottery shards, jade beads, and the bones of those who once called Tikal home. Each find is a whisper from the past, a clue to the enigma of why this vibrant city was abandoned. The theory of drought, one of the most compelling explanations for Tikal's collapse, weaves a tale of environmental hardship that resonates with the struggles of the maize farmer we met earlier. The Maya depended on the rains, governed by Chaac, to sustain their fields, but in the late 800s, the rains grew scarce, the season stretching into long, dry spells. Picture the farmers trudging to their milpas, their gourds nearly empty, their faces etched with worrying as the maize stalks wilted under a merciless sun. The city's reservoirs, carved into the bedrock to capture rainwater, began to fail, their surfaces cracked and barren, reflecting only the harsh light of the sky. The priests standing atop the temple of the masks burned copal in clay censers, the smoke rising in thin curls as they chanted for Chaac's mercy, but the heavens remained silent, the air thick with the scent of dust and fading hope. Archaeological evidence paints a vivid picture of this struggle. Sediment cores from nearby lakes, carefully extracted by modern researchers, reveal layers of clay that speak of prolonged droughts, periods when the rains failed for years at a time. The bones of Tikal's people, unearthed from simple burials in the city's outskirts, bear signs of hardship, teeth worn from chewing tough, meager meals, bones weakened by malnutrition. You can imagine a mother in a thatched home, grinding maize with a mano and metate, her hands trembling as she stretched the last of her stores to feed her children. The elite, however, continued to commission monuments, their stelae rising in the plazas even as the granaries emptied. The contrast between their carved stone palaces and the farmers' dwindling harvests may have deepened the city's divisions, a quiet tension that simmered beneath the surface. War, another thread in the mystery, tells of a city weakened by conflict. Tikal was a giant among the Maya city-states, its power rivaled by cities like Calakmul, whose rulers sought to dominate the region. Imagine the warriors of Tikal, their cotton armor painted with sacred symbols, marching through the jungle, the air heavy with humidity and the buzz of insects. These conflicts were ritual affairs, aimed at capturing nobles for sacrifice rather than conquest, but they were costly. The captives, bound with ropes of agave fiber, were led to Tikal's altars, their lives offered to the gods in rituals that echoed across the plazas. The air was thick with the scent of copal and the solemn chants of priests, the stone altars worn smooth by countless offerings. You can picture the warriors returning to the city, their faces weary, their numbers diminished, as the demands of war pulled farmers from their fields and strained the city's resources. The glyphs on Tikal's stelae, though fewer in the city's final years, hint at a decline in victories. The records speak of battles lost, of alliances broken, and of enemies growing bolder. Imagine the royal court, its walls adorned with murals of past glories, as the king, perhaps Chichén Itzá, or his successor, listened to reports of raids on outlying villages. The air was heavy with the scent of wax from flickering torches, the advisors' voices low with concern. The trade routes, once bustling with merchants carrying cacao, obsidian, and shells, grew quiet, the jungle paths overgrown as traders avoided the conflict. The loss of these routes may have choked Tikal's economy, leaving the city isolated, its markets silent, their stalls empty of goods. Social unrest, a third possibility, weaves a story of a city fractured from within. The elite, their lives marked by luxury, depended on the labor of farmers and artisans, whose tribute sustained the pyramids and palaces. But as drought and war took their toll, the burden on the common people grew heavier. Picture the farmers, their hands calloused from the digging stick, carrying sacks of maize to the city, their own stores dwindling as they met the nobles' demands. The elite, seated in their stone palaces, dined on cacao and venison, their feasts a stark contrast to the farmers' meager meals of tortillas and beans. You can almost hear the murmurs of discontent in the villages, the soft whispers of a people pushed to the edge by hunger and obligation. Archaeological finds offer glimpses of this tension. The palaces of Tikal's elite, with their thick stone walls and painted murals, stand in stark contrast to the simple thatched homes of the farmers. Yet in the city's final years, some palaces show signs of neglect: cracked plaster, courtyards overgrown with weeds as if their occupants could no longer maintain them, graffiti, scratched into the walls of lesser structures, suggest defiance, glyphs that mock the ruler's authority or lament the city's hardships. You can imagine a young artisan, his chisel trembling, carving a hidden mark of rebellion in the shadows of a temple, his act a quiet cry against the weight of tribute. This unrest may have driven people from the city, seeking refuge in smaller villages where the demands of nobles were lighter, the jungle's bounty more accessible. The abandonment of Tikal was not a single event, but a gradual fading, like the slow dimming of a torch. By 900 CE, the plazas were empty, the temples silent, the palaces left to the jungle's embrace. Imagine the final families departing, their footsteps soft on the limestone paths, carrying what little they could: clay pots, woven mats, a few precious jade beads. The jungle, ever patient, began to reclaim the city, its roots curling around the stones, its vines draping the steely like a green shroud. The air grew still, the scent of copal replaced by the earthy aroma of moss and decay. The pyramids, once the heart of a thriving city, became silent monuments, their glyphs a fading record of a world that had slipped away. Modern excavations have uncovered treasures that hint at Tikal's final days. Archaeologists, their hands brushing away centuries of earth, have found broken pottery in the palaces, as if left in haste, and offerings of jade and obsidian buried in the plazas, perhaps final pleas to the gods. The bones of the last residents, found in modest graves, tell of a people who faced hunger and hardship, their lives cut short by the city's decline. Yet the ruins also speak of resilience, of a civilization that left behind a legacy of art and knowledge. You can picture the archaeologists, their lanterns casting soft light on the glyphs, piecing together the story of a city lost to time. The mystery of Tikal's collapse remains unsolved, a quiet enigma that invites reflection. Was it the drought that starved the fields, the wars that drained the city's strength, or the unrest that fractured its heart? Perhaps it was all these forces, intertwined like the roots of the ceiba tree, pulling Tikal into silence. As you stand in the imagined ruins, the air cool with the evening mist, you can almost feel the weight of those unanswered questions, a gentle puzzle that lingers in the jungle's embrace. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, Imagine the soft rustle of leaves over Tikal's stones, the distant call of a bird, the faint scent of earth and moss. The mystery of Tikal is a quiet wonder, a story of a city that shone brightly before fading into the jungle's arms. Let this enigma carry you now, as we prepare to leave the silent ruins and step into the sacred world of a priest in Chichen Itzá, where rituals and power intertwined under the shadow of a great pyramid. As the silent ruins of Tikal fade into the gentle haze of your thoughts, dear listener, let us journey northward to the vibrant city of Chichén Itzá. It is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula around the year 900 of the Common Era. Here in the shadow of the great pyramid known as El Castillo, dedicated to the feathered serpent god Kukulkan, you step into the life of a Maya priest, a figure of power and reverence, whose days are woven with rituals, astronomy, and the weight of divine responsibility. Unlike the farmer toiling in the milpa, or the king balancing ambition and fate, your world is one of sacred duties and celestial knowledge, a life that holds the city's spiritual heart in your hands. Picture yourself standing on the pyramid steps, the air thick with the scent of copal and the distant murmur of the sacred cenote, as we explore this mystical existence, guiding you gently toward rest. Imagine waking in the cool pre-dawn hours, the air heavy with the damp breath of the jungle that surrounds Chichén Itzá. Your home is not a simple thatched hut, but a stone chamber within the city's sacred precinct, its walls adorned with carvings of gods and stars. The floor is smooth limestone, cool beneath your bare feet, and the faint glow of a torch casts flickering shadows across the glyphs. You rise from a woven mat, softer than the farmer's, but still austere, and don your ceremonial robes cotton-dyed with indigo and cochineal, embroidered with patterns of serpents and jaguars. Around your neck hangs a jade pendant, its weight a constant reminder of your role, a mediator between the earthly and the divine. The air carries the faint, resinous scent of copal, burned through the night to honor the gods, and you step outside into a city just beginning to stir. Chichén Itzá is a marvel, its plazas bustling with traders, warriors, and artisans, its pyramids rising like stone mountains above the flat Yucatan landscape. The Great Pyramid, El Castillo, dominates the city, its four stairways climbing to a temple where priests like you commune with the gods. You pause at its base, the limestone warm under your hands, and gaze upward where the morning mist clings to the temple's crest. The plaza around you is alive with soft sounds, the murmur of merchants setting up stalls, the clink of obsidian tools, the distant laughter of children playing near the ball court. But your focus is on the sacred duties that await, the rituals that maintain the cosmic order and ensure the gods' favor. Your day begins with a ritual cleansing, a preparation for the divine tasks ahead. You walk to a small cenote within the city, its waters clear and cool, reflecting the first light of dawn. Kneeling at its edge, you scoop water into a clay vessel, its surface painted with glyphs of the rain god Chaac. You pour the water over your hands and face, the cold a sharp but fleeting shock, cleansing not just your body, but your spirit. The air is thick with the scent of wet stone and moss, and you offer a quiet prayer, your voice soft as you invoke the gods who dwell in the Senate's depths. This act, simple yet profound, is the first of many that will fill your day, each a thread in the tapestry of devotion that binds Chichén Itzá to the heavens. As a priest, your role is to interpret the will of the gods, a task that requires knowledge of the stars, the calendar, and the sacred codices. You make your way to the carcal, a circular stone structure that serves as an observatory, its narrow windows aligned with the movements of the heavens. The air inside is cool, the walls lined with glyphs that map the cycles of Venus, the sun, and the moon. You carry a codex, its bark paper pages delicate and heavy with ink, and settle onto a stone bench to study its contents. The glyphs, painted in black and red, tell of celestial events, eclipses, solstices, the rising of the Pleiades that guide the city's rituals. You trace the lines with your finger, your mind attuned to the rhythms of the cosmos, the faint scent of the codex sh bark mingling with the smoky aroma of a nearby censer. Astronomy is not just a science, but a sacred art, a way to align the city's actions with the divine order. You spend hours observing the stars, noting their positions through the caracal's windows, their light faint but steady in the pre-dawn sky. The planet Venus, revered as a harbinger of war and renewal, is your focus this morning, its bright glow a sign to be interpreted. You consult the codex, its glyphs whispering of a coming ritual to honor Kukulkan, the feathered serpent whose descent down El Castillo's steps is marked by the equinox sun. The air is still, the only sound the soft scratch of your quill as you record your observations, a task that connects you to the priests who came before, their knowledge etched in the stones around you. Your role extends beyond the stars to the political heart of Chichén Itzá. As a priest, you hold influence, advising the king and nobles on matters of war, trade, and sacrifice. Imagine yourself in the royal court, a stone chamber adorned with murals of gods and ancestors, the air heavy with the scent of wax from flickering torches. The king, his headdress adorned with quetzal feathers, listens as you interpret the omens: a comet seen last night, a maize cob with uneven kernels, the cry of an owl at midday. Your voice is calm, measured, as you counsel caution in a planned raid against a rival city, citing the unfavorable position of Venus. The nobles, their tunics heavy with jade, nod in agreement, their faces masking their own ambitions. Your words carry weight, a bridge between the divine and the earthly, but they also place you in a delicate balance of power. Rituals are the heart of your day, each one a carefully choreographed act to appease the gods. You lead a procession to the Temple of the Warriors, its columns carved with images of armed figures, their stone eyes watching as you climb the steps. The air is thick with the scent of copal, burned in a clay censer by your acolytes, their young faces solemn with duty. You carry a stingray spine, its tip sharp and cold, and pierce your earlobe, letting a few drops of blood fall onto bark paper. The pain is brief, a fleeting reminder of your devotion, and you place the paper in the censer, the smoke rising in curls to carry your offering to the gods. The chants of your acolytes, soft and rhythmic, fill the air, their voices blending with the distant hum of the city, a reminder of the sacred bond that holds Chichén Itzá together. The sacred cenote, a deep limestone sinkhole north of the city, is a focal point of your duties. Imagine standing at its edge, the water below dark and still, its surface reflecting the jungle's green canopy. The cenote, a gateway to the underworld, a place where offerings of jade, gold, and even lives are given to the gods. You oversee the preparation of offerings: jade beads, obsidian blades, pottery painted with glyphs, each item carefully chosen to honor Chaac and the deities of the underworld. The air is heavy with the scent of moss and water, and you murmur prayers, your voice blending with the rustle of leaves stirred by a warm breeze. The Senate's dark waters hold a quiet power, a reminder of the gods' presence and the weight of your role. Your life, though privileged, is not without fear. The gods are demanding, their favor uncertain, and a failed ritual could bring drought, defeat, or disease. You carry this burden quietly, your face a mask of calm as you lead ceremonies, but your thoughts linger on the omens, the stars, the whispers of unrest in the city. The farmers, whose toil we followed, look to you to ensure the rains come, their faith in your rituals a heavy responsibility. You contrast their labor with your own, their days spent in the milpa while yours unfold in the shadow of pyramids, yet both are bound by the same divine order, the same need to appease the gods. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the flicker of torchlight on the carcal's walls, the scent of copal curling through the air, the distant murmur of the sacred cenote. The life of a priest in Chichen Itzá was one of power and reverence, a delicate dance between the earthly and the divine. Let this mystical world carry you now, as we pause in the shadow of El Castillo, preparing to continue the tale of rituals and sacred duties under the stars. As the mystical aura of Chichen, its sacred precinct lingers in your thoughts. Dear listener, let us return to the life of a priest standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, El Castillo, in the vibrant city of Chichén Itzá. Deep in the Yucatan Peninsula around the year 900 CE, the air is thick with the scent of copal resin, curling upward from a censer, and the faint, solemn murmur of the jungle surrounds you, blending with the distant hum of the sacred Senate's dark waters. Your role as a priest is one of reverence and responsibility, your days filled with rituals that bind the city to the gods, with the study of stars that guide its destiny, and with the delicate balance of power among its rulers. This is a world of awe and devotion, a stark contrast to the farmer's toil in the milpa, yet woven with the same threads of faith. Picture yourself on the pyramid steps, the limestone warm beneath your feet, as we continue this tale of sacred duties, guiding you gently toward rest. The afternoon sun hangs high, casting sharp shadows across the plaza as you prepare for one of the day's most significant rituals, a ceremony to honor Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god whose presence is felt in the equinox shadows that dance down El Castillo's steps. You walk through the city, your robes cotton dyed with indigo and cochineal, embroidered with serpents and stars swaying softly with each step. The air is heavy with the scent of roasted maize from the market, mingled with the smoky tang of copal burned by other priests. Acolytes follow you, their young faces solemn, carrying clay vessels filled with offerings, jade beads, obsidian blades, and maize kernels painted with sacred glyphs. The plaza is alive with soft sounds, the murmur of traders bartering cacao, the clink of tools in the hands of artisans, the laughter of children weaving through the crowds, but your focus is on the sacred task ahead, a moment to commune with the divine. You climb the steps of El Castillo, each one worn smooth by centuries of feet, your breath steady despite the steep ascent. The pyramid is a marvel, its four stairways aligned with the cardinal directions, its temple at the summit a gateway to the heavens. As you reach the top, the air cools slightly, the breeze carrying the faint scent of jungle flowers. The temple's interior is dim, its walls carved with images of Kukulkan, his feathered form coiling through the stone. You kneel before a stone altar, its surface etched with glyphs, and light a censer of copal, the smoke rising in thin curls to carry your prayers. The acolytes place the offerings on the altar, their hands trembling with the weight of their duty, and you begin the chant, your voice slow and rhythmic, blending with the distant hum of the city below. The words, passed down through generations, invoke Kukulkan's favor, a plea for the rains to come and the city to prosper. Bloodletting is a central part of the ritual, a sacred act to offer your vitality to the gods. You take a stingray spine, its tip sharp and cold, and pierce your tongue, the pain sharp but fleeting, a reminder of your devotion. A few drops of blood fall onto bark paper, which you fold and place in the censer, the smoke thickening as it rises to the heavens. The acolytes join you, their own offerings adding to the sacred smoke, their voices rising in a soft chorus. The air is heavy with the scent of resin and blood, but the act is not one of violence, rather, it is a solemn gift, a way to strengthen the bond between Chichén Itzá and the divine. You feel the god's presence, a quiet weight that settles over you, and you close your eyes, letting the chant carry you deeper into the sacred moment. The sacred cenote, a deep limestone sinkhole north of the city, is another focus of your duties, a place of profound power and mystery. Imagine walking its path, the ground soft with fallen leaves, the air thick with the scent of moss and water. The Senate's waters are dark, their surface still, reflecting the jungle's green canopy like a mirror to the underworld. As a priest, you oversee offerings to the gods who dwell in its depths, Chaac, the rain god, and the deities of Xibalba, the underworld. You stand at the edge, your robes catching the breeze, and direct the acolytes to place offerings, jade beads strung on cotton thread, pottery painted with serpents, obsidian blades gleaming in the sunlight tint to the water. The items sink slowly, their ripples fading into the darkness, a silent plea for divine favor. You murmur prayers, your voice blending with the rustle of leaves, the air heavy with the Senate's quiet power. The Senate's role in rituals is not without its solemn weight. Whispers among the people speak of greater offerings, of captives or chosen individuals sent into the waters to appease the gods in times of crisis. You acknowledge this reality with a priest's detachment, your voice steady as you lead such rituals, but you focus on the spiritual purpose, the balance of the cosmos, the need to ensure the rains come. The air at the Senate's edge is cool, the water's darkness a reminder of the gods' demands, but you describe the act in metaphors, speaking of lives offered to the underworld's embrace, their essence joining the divine. The farmers, whose toil we followed, look to these rituals with a mix of awe and fear, their faith in your actions a heavy responsibility that you carry quietly. Your evenings are spent in the carcal, the observatory where you study the stars, a task that grounds your spiritual duties in the rhythms of the cosmos. Imagine sitting on a stone bench, the air cool and still, the walls around you lined with glyphs that map the heavens. You hold a codex, its bark paper pages delicate, their glyphs painted in black and red, telling of Venus, the sun, and the moon. The narrow windows of the carcal frame the stars, their light faint but steady, and you note their positions, your quill scratching softly on a new page. The planet Venus, revered as a guide for war and renewal, is bright tonight, its glow a sign to be interpreted for the king's next council. The air carries the faint scent of aged bark and resin, and you feel a quiet connection to the priests who came before, their knowledge etched in the stones around you. Your influence in the royal court continues into the night, as you advise the king on matters of state. Picture the council chamber, its walls painted with murals of gods and ancestors, the air heavy with the scent of wax from flickering torches. The king, his headdress adorned with quetzal feathers, listens as you interpret the stars' movements, your voice calm as you counsel peace or war. The nobles, their tunics heavy with jade, watch you closely, their own ambitions a quiet undercurrent in the room. You navigate this balance with care, your words a bridge between the divine and the earthly, but you are ever aware of the gods' demands, the fear of failure that lingers in your thoughts. The air is thick with tension, but your presence is a steady anchor, your knowledge a guide for the city's path. The contrast between your life and the farmer's is stark, yet your worlds are intertwined. The farmer toils in the milpa, his hands scarred from the digging stick, his days shaped by the sun and rain. You, in the shadow of pyramids, wield influence and knowledge, your days guided by stars and codices. Yet both of you serve the same gods, both fear the same droughts, both offer prayers to Chaac. You reflect on this as you lead rituals, the farmers' faces in the crowd a reminder of their labor that sustains the city. Their maize fills the granaries, their tribute builds the temples, and your rituals ensure their fields are blessed, or so you hope. The air at these ceremonies is heavy with their faith, a weight you carry with quiet resolve. As the night deepens, you return to your chamber, the city quiet now, the only sounds the distant call of a night bird and the rustle of leaves. You lie on your woven mat, the limestone floor cool beneath you, and your thoughts turn to the stars, the cenote, the gods' silent gaze. Sleep comes slowly, a fragile refuge in a life defined by duty and devotion. Your role is one of power, but also of burden, a constant effort to maintain the cosmic order in a world of uncertainty. You are one of many priests whose rituals sustain Chichén Itzá, whose knowledge guides its kings, whose offerings appease its gods. Your name may not be carved in stone, but your actions are the heartbeat of the city, a quiet pulse that echoes through its plazas. The pyramids that pierce the sky, the cenote that whispers of the underworld, all rest on the strength of your devotion. As you drift towards sleep, dear listener, imagine the flicker of torch light on the carcal's glyphs, the scent of copal curling through the air, the dark waters of the sacred cenote. The priest's life was one of reverence and responsibility, a testament to the Maya's bond with the divine. Let this mystical rhythm carry you now, as we prepare to close our journey through the Maya world, reflecting on the lives that shaped its heart. As the sacred chants of Chichen Itza's priest fade into the quiet corners of your mind, dear listener, let us step back from the jungles of the Maya world, where the lives of farmers, kings, cities, and priests wove a tapestry of toil, ambition, mystery, and devotion. The air, once thick with the scent of copal and damp earth, softens now into the gentle stillness of your present moment. The distant hum of insects, the rustle of maize leaves, the flicker of torchlight on carved stone, all these linger as echoes of a civilization that thrived and faded under the canopy of stars. Tonight, we have wandered through the rhythm of a farmer's labor, the tragedy of a king's sacrifice, the enigma of a city's silence, and the reverence of a priest's rituals. The farmer's life, bound to the milpa and the gods, was one of quiet endurance, his hands scarred from the digging stick, his prayers rising to Chaac with every pinch of maize meal pressed into the earth. His world was one of sweat and soil, of cycles that turned with the seasons, yet it sustained the grandeur of cities like Chichen and Tikal. King 18 Rabbit, adorned in Quetzal feathers, dreamed of immortality through his stone stele, only to meet a tragic end in the shadow of a rival's altar. His ambition, etched in limestone, reminds us of the fleeting nature of power, a whisper of glory now cradled by the jungle. Tikal's collapse, its plazas left to the roots and vines, speaks of mysteries that endure, of a city that shone brightly before slipping into silence. And the priest of Chichén Itzá, standing atop El Castillo, wove the stars and blood into rituals that held the cosmos in balance, his life a bridge between the earthly and the divine. These lives, so different yet intertwined, were bound by a shared devotion to the gods, a shared struggle against the jungle's embrace, a shared hope for prosperity in a world of uncertainty. The farmer's toil fed the city, the king's ambition built its monuments, the priest's rituals sought its salvation, and Tikal's ruins hold their stories in silent stone. Yet it was also a world of beauty, of markets bustling with cacao and jade, of glyphs that told of heroes and gods, of stars that guided the faithful through the night. Now, as you rest in the comfort of your own time, imagine the contrast between their world and yours. Where the farmer woke to the cool earth beneath his feet, you wake to the softness of a mattress, the hum of modern life a distant echo. Where 18 Rabbit bore the weight of a crown and the gods' demands, you carry only the gentle burdens of your day, free from the shadow of divine wrath. Where Tikal's people face drought and war, you have the shelter of a world shaped by their legacy, their knowledge of the stars, and the land a foundation for the present. And where the priest stood in the Senate's shadow, offering blood to the gods, you can close your eyes in peace. The rituals of the past now a story to lull you into sleep. Let the rhythm of the Maya world carry you now, dear listener. Picture the jungle's canopy, its leaves swaying in a warm breeze, the faint scent of earth and flowers fading into the night. The farmer's digging stick, the king's stele, the city's silent plazas, the priest's sacred chants, they are all part of a distant past, a world that shaped the present yet lies far from its cares. Feel the weight of their struggles slip away, replaced by the calm of your own breath, the softness of your surroundings. The Maya lived in a world of toil and faith, but you are here, Now, in a moment of rest, where the only demand is to let go, to drift into the gentle embrace of sleep. Close your eyes, dear listener, and let the quiet rhythm of history carry you into dreams, where the echoes of the Mayo fade into the comfort of your own night. Sleep well, and may the peace of this journey linger until morning,